Ring ring, it's time for another episode of Crossplay Conversations, the show where we dive deep into the world of video games while keeping it light. I'm your host, Joseph Hooper, and today I am joined once again with my co-host, the Quizmaster, Jacob McCourt.
Yo, Luke was pretty mad that he listened to the show because he's still on his content break. You know, the boy's getting married real soon. He was mad that you gave me a new moniker while he wasn't here.
Yeah, I mean, what can I say? When the boys are away, the boys will play. You know what I'm saying?
That's it. When the adult is gone, the boys will play.
Yep, there we go. So Luke can't stop me, no matter how hard he tries. Even though he is now in the same state as me, he can't get me. I'm like the Riddler. I'm like the Joker. I'm 2 steps ahead. I'm already gone.
Mm-hmm.
I've already done the damage. I'm gone. So there you go, Luke. You're listening to this message, or you're listening to this podcast. We've already recorded another podcast where I've done even more damage.
Mm-hmm.
You can't catch me.
Maybe on the next episode, you'll have a new moniker too, and then I'll have to come back and host with 2 new monikers. What will you do then?
Maybe I will. Yeah, he's in for a world of hurt after marriage, and not because of his wife. It's because of us.
Yeah, just the boys.
His
the
work
boys
wives.
will be the boys. Yeah, his work wives.
Yeah. But no, we're here recording a little epi, having a little fun today.
Mm-hmm.
We will be talking about the Mount Rushmore of console launches, and what does that mean? We're gonna get into it. We're gonna be dodging and weaving, as we talked about before we even hit the record button. We're gonna play around with it for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But before we even get into that topic, I wanted to break the ice real quick. Talk about a little release, which I don't actually know how much you've been playing, but Death Stranding 2. It's out. The streets are buzzing. Yep. I want to hear your take so far. Basically, how much have you played and what's your take?
All the homies are talking about it. It is something that you look on BlueSky and people are complaining about baby screaming or, hey, I ain't got no shoes. But I've played about 3 hours of Death Stranding 2. I just started it on the day we're recording this, and I played through the first 3 hours. It sounds like you have played more than that.
Yeah, I'm probably 15 hours in.
Ooh, boy.
I literally just made that number up, but I've been playing for like the past 3 to 4 days, pretty much any chance I can get. So I played a decent amount for sure.
I hear you love a monorail.
I do love a monorail. There's just something about this game where playing Death Stranding 2, I'm a lot more prepared for what the game has to offer. I think Death Stranding 1, I went into it and I was playing it and I was just thinking, this can't be it. Like, where's the other gameplay? Where's it going to switch up? What's actually going on? I don't like climbing and traversing all this stuff. It's just really painful and annoying. And I just wasn't mentally in the right headspace. Granted, I still enjoyed the game, all said and done, because I really enjoyed the cutscenes, especially in the back half. Yep. But this one, I'm way more prepared. And I'm just having a very cathartic experience. Like I said offline, that it's kind of like how people who play Truck Simulator feel, where I'm just like, yeah, let me get my materials. Let me start building some like resource centers. Let's get the monorail online. Let's get these streets online. Let's get these like public resources online for the people so we can all use it. Jacob, I hope you see my road and I hope you leave me a like.
Yeah, I'm going to give you many likes. Whenever I see someone come up and they're like, hey, please, sir, can I have some likes? I make sure and smash that button. I smash that like button a whole bunch of times.
Good.
Make sure you get 60 likes from me every time. So look, if there's a ladder or there's a freaking anchor point with a rope that I can climb up, my friend, you're getting 60 likes. Don't worry about that.
Beautiful. The one thing I do have to say about it is our buddy Norman Reedus, friend of the show, Norman Reedus.
Yep.
He doesn't have much range in this game, I have to say. His face he has one of the stoniest stone faces I've ever seen.
He's nearly a silent protagonist in some ways.
Basically.
Yeah.
Basically.
Which, look, if you get Norman Reedus and his Norman fetus and everyone acts around him, that's fine. Because I even forgot like Margaret Qualley was in this game. Totally forgot about that. Shout out to Margaret, friend of the show, Margaret Qualley.
Friend of the show.
Friend of the pod. I have been really enjoying it. I was terrible at the original game. Real bad because I didn't take it at the pace you need to take Death Stranding at. Death Stranding, you need to learn the ropes, take it slow, don't overpack, make sure not to kill
Yeah.
your stamina. And I can tell even in my first 3 hours of playing that your boy dropped at least 3 ladders. He's
Oh
taking his
no.
time. He's not overloading his pack. I think Death Stranding
Okay.
2, I'm going to get to the point where you're at, where I'm just feeling wildly cathartic. But the amount of times where I've had just the music swell and me just, slowly run towards my destination to provide chiral this and printer that or parts of that, I'm really enjoying it. I've
You
heard folks go like, "Yo, it's the most sequel thing that Kojima's ever done." And yo, if this just continues, and I'm building monorails and driving around vehicles to make deliveries for 40 hours, and then Kojima throws 10 hours of cutscenes at me, that's nonsense. I'm gonna
Yep.
have a great time.
Yeah, 100%. I'm glad you mentioned the music swelling too, because my God, some of the music in this game is crazy. Let me tell you about a little song called -61 by Woodkid. Like, I think that might be the intro song, which, what the hell? Like, bro was cooking with absolute propane in the damn studio for this song. I can't stop. I was in the gym listening to this. Like, Mr. Wood, you've outdone yourself, sir. I'm very excited to listen to the rest of your tracks, as well as a handful of other artists that are just in their damn bag throughout this game. So,
I went on
um,
YouTube and found -61 by Woodkid, and the top comment is, "This is for the DS2 opening. Gave me chills."
gave me chill. Was that my comment that I don't remember writing? What's
Well,
going
I
on
guess
here?
this song dropped 4 years ago, so people have been enjoying this track for
Wait,
at least
what
4 years.
the hell? People have
Yeah,
been
dude.
able to enjoy this for 4 years. Where have I been?
I clearly under a chiral
Under.
infested rock.
You're not wrong. You're not
Hmm.
wrong. But yeah, we'll probably have more to say about that in the weeks to come. Who knows? Honestly, on at this pace that I'm going, I might put 100 hours in this. I might hit 100.
Whew.
I got to connect the whole. I got to connect the whole world. You know what I'm saying? I got to build
Can
these
I
roads.
ask one spoiler for where you're at? And this is a
Yes,
light structural spoiler question.
sure.
The first few hours you're in Mexico. That is not a
Yes,
spoiler. That is the first hour.
yeah.
Is Canada in the game?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Damn it! Come on.
I mean, but also, I'm not further. I'm not far enough to where that would have been revealed.
Mm.
Like, there's a second location, which I don't think is either. It's not a spoiler. I'm just not going to say it. There's a second location, and I still got a ways to go on the second location before I even start thinking about a third location. It seems
Okay.
so, but I most likely no, if I had
Okay.
to guess.
All right.
Yeah,
Kojima's a hater. I get it. It's all good.
maybe Death Stranding 2 or 3 will head to Canada.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see. We'll see. Cool. Let's jump into our main topic. Last week, or not last week, but last episode, we talked about the Switch 2 and our impressions.
Mm-hmm.
And that got me thinking. That got us thinking, what if we talked about all that came before the Switch 2?
Mm-hmm.
Let's rank and really discuss some of our favorite console launches of all time. Now, this will be interesting because I think we both game a lot. We both have most consoles, but
Mm-hmm.
our tastes are more of a Venn diagram than an overlapping circle. So I'm
Yes.
very curious how you view certain console launches and what you think, what was most exciting for you at the time for certain releases. So we're gonna do this free form. We're gonna build our Mount Rushmore. How many heads are on the Mount Rushmore?
There
What
are
is that, four?
four. You're asking the Canadian how many heads are on Mount
Yeah,
Rushmore.
I've never
There are
seen Mount
four.
Rushmore.
There are
I've
four.
never seen it. Like, how
Mhm.
do I know it really exists? I don't know.
Our
Uh,
thumbnail will be one console on the head and then 3 question marks to get your
there you
interest
go.
in. Yeah.
There you go. Um, how are you feeling before we even get into it? How are you feeling? Do you feel like you have 4 locked already? Are you on the fence? Like, where are you with this Mount Rushmore?
Yeah, I think I've got some pretty good ideas of stuff I want to bring up here. I've probably got like 3 or 4 candidates of things I want to pitch to you. But I think before we talk about those, I need to actually ask you some questions about
That's where I
how
was
we
gonna go
structure this
next.
thing.
Yep, yep.
Because is it mostly focused on the launch titles? Is it focused on the excitement we had for the console? Are we looking at like the macro environment at the time? How are we defining these console launches?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
in
I
my
mean,
mind, it's a combination of hardware and software with a twist of how were things at the time.
yeah. I'm down to go that route. I don't. In my eyes, it's kind of like because my question to you was also going to be: there's a lot of consoles we weren't really just cognizant of at the time. Like when we start going really back, like Nintendo 64 and later. Like obviously, in terms of personal experience, we probably don't have much to say. So, are we doing it? Do you want to? Is it? Are we introducing our personal biases into this at all? Like, are we combining that with launch title and trying to argue for it? Because I feel like maybe we should try and put up an argument. Maybe we like lay our foundation of like this is what we think should go on there, and if we have disagreements, let's duke it out and like figure out where we should lock in. Because if there's a lot of overlap, we can just wax poetic about some of our favorite.
Yeah, I think that we just start throwing out suggestions, and then we can sort of wax poetic about them. And
Okay.
do you want to throw it one at a time, or do you want to actually
Yeah.
like throw out
Back and
multiples?
forth. Back and forth.
Okay. Should I start?
Yeah. Hit us up.
Okay. The first one that I'm gonna throw out here is from the seventh generation of consoles, launching in the
Okay.
U.S. November 22nd of 2005. You've always thrown out the Xbox 360.
Oh, Jacob. Oh, Jacob. We're pairing and we're right there. I
Yep.
mean,
Yep.
when we're talking, and we'll get into it. I'll just say the Xbox 360 also pretty up there on my
Yep.
list.
Yep. The thing with
Formative,
that one
should I
is
say?
like we weren't really doing digital games yet because you think
Mm-hmm.
anything after the seventh generation, you are now dealing with a combination of physical and digital games. So there's this like last hurrah of having a bunch of launch titles, and sure, are some of those ports from other consoles or plussed up versions or whatever, sure. But there were some genuine bangers that launched with that console. I specifically think when I got the console, I ended up getting Cameo Elements of Power and Perfect Dark
Mm,
Zero. Both of
mm,
those games having issues, but like, when did we ever get two games from Rare at the same time? And then
yeah.
you right around those two titles, you get stuff like Call of Duty 2, which was the first time that we really got like a PC port, quote unquote, and wasn't some
Mm-hmm.
random big red one console edition that was way different. So it was honestly the PC version that we got on a console, which was rad. Then you get stuff around the periphery, like Condemned Criminal Origins, which is a criminally slept on game and has been forever. And then you get your sports titles and your racing games as well. I think that there was maybe 16 to 20 titles when it launched, and like we got Blades, we got it a year before PlayStation 3 and the Wii, so it was like a real step forward in consoles. So
Yeah.
it's this combination of like banger launch titles, tons of choice, console was rad, and it launched a year before anything else.
Let me ask you, and let's just get into the 360 for a second because everything
Yeah.
you're saying is true. Can you? Oh nah. Sorry, everybody. I was on. I was looking at a list of like all my launch titles, and all of a sudden I'm getting a U.S. Bank ad in my ear. We gotta go to Congress about auto playing ads as videos.
Yeah.
That cannot be a thing.
Garbo.
Anyways, was the Xbox 360 the first hardware console to have HD games?
So I think at the time, PlayStation 2 would have had you could have bought component cables for it,
Oh,
but that
really?
would have been late in the console's lifespan. Uh, and it didn't come with HDMI out of the box, but it would have been
Mm,
like the first time we got quote unquote HD gaming.
right, right. Yeah. I mean, I just remember getting the 360 for some Christmas, um, and plugging in the HD cables for the first time and being like, wait, like I'm literally on the Star Trek Voyager. We are in a different time period. This is insane. Like I'm playing this is a whole new era of gaming essentially.
Mm-hmm.
But everything you're saying, I think when we're talking about a launch console, the 360 was just like that futuristic modern device. And I honestly think it's one of the last times that we got a device where it was like, oh, like this is different,
Yep.
right? Because even like obviously we all love the PS4, PS5. Um, some people like one person likes the Xbox One, maybe.
Maybe.
But like those were very iterative in ways,
Mm-hmm.
building off of tech that came before. But like the Xbox 360, with like you said, the Xbox Live capability, you're making your Xbox Live avatar.
Mm-hmm.
You're like you're saying, tapping into Xbox arcade. Like there's just so many different components that you have to toy with right out of the box when you have that console, that it really just felt like, oh man, like this is a new era of gaming. And I think that's why it became the Call of Duty machine, why it
Mm-hmm.
became like the gamer box for the typical gamer guy
Mm-hmm.
stereotype. So I think the Xbox 360 definitely deserves a spot. I think we're both in agreement. We're once again waxing poetic.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see where I want to go here next because I feel like I have another pretty
Yep.
easy slam dunk.
Yep.
I don't know if you're thinking what I'm thinking. Let's have a little game here. On three, let's say it at the same time. All right.
Yep. Okay.
On one, two, three, and then say it.
We. Oh,
Okay.
damn it.
Oh, I was gonna say we. I was gonna say
Okay.
we.
Okay.
So we are good.
Let's do it.
We are
Let's
good.
do it for audio sake. For
Okay. Okay. One, two, three. We.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't even know if that lined up properly on Riverside, so we'll see. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely the we. I mean, I don't. It's hard to even kind of like remember what the launch was for the the actual Wii launch. I just
Mm-hmm.
know it was feverish
Mm-hmm.
because the gimmick, this was like this console gimmicked more than any other console ever even dreamed to gimmick. It
Mm-hmm.
got everybody. And the pack in of like Wii Sports as well, like, it was just the perfect storm of you could just play Wii Sports for an indefinite amount of time and you could be thinking this is one of the greatest consoles ever, like this is insane. Like
Mm-hmm.
it was such a like iconic entry point for people that weren't traditionally into gaming, that weren't the Xbox 360 players, that weren't like the PlayStation players, or maybe fell off with the GameCube because they were just kind of like, what is this? The Wii brought everybody back. And like having that launch, having the freshness, because we talked about this last episode with like the Switch 2 not really feeling like, you know, anything crazy. Like you open the box and you're like, it's a Switch, and you kind of
Yep.
move on with your life.
Yep.
The Wii just had so much magic in terms of like figuring out every little thing. Even the Wii shop with the freaking music. You're just like,
Iconic.
everything about this. Everything
Yep.
about this is magical, right? And I think that's like one of the like most, when I think about like having a special experience with the hardware itself and just like that initial launch, whatever you're getting out of the box, I think the Wii is essentially unmatched in that regard.
Yep, I'm totally with you. It was a console that you could pull the whole family in. So if your mom or your dad bought it for you, you could say like, hey, just like grab a Wiimote and let's do some bowling, because Wii Sports. We've heard over time that Reggie was really the one who pushed for a free pack-in, because that is not something Nintendo did, but that is like truly half the sauce for the Wii is, oh yes, I buy the bowling machine, and there's 10 million bowling machines at nursing homes around the world.
Yep.
Not only that, but the console itself was probably one of the cheapest console launches that we've had, because it was
Yep.
$249 at launch USD, compared to the core unit. Even just the core unit, no hard drive, of the 360 was $50 more. But if you wanted to get the the Pro that had a hard drive, you were $399, and the PlayStation 3 was $499 and $599 for like the 20 gig and 60 gig. So not only was it a thing that you could play with the whole family, you could play Wii Sports right away. It was so cheap, but also the games at launch some bangers. I mean,
Yeah.
within that Christmas period, you got a Zelda game because you got Twilight Princess. Yes, it was a port from the GameCube with motion controls and everything flipped, but you got a Zelda game at launch. You got Red Steel, which, say what you want about Red Steel, it was kind of cool to play a whole ass adventure game with motion control, you know, kind of
Yeah.
in an okay fashion. I think WarioWare Smooth Moves came pretty quickly after. Obviously, you got a bunch of, you know, I don't want to say shovelware, but a bunch of like licensed kind of crap. But then you got stuff that was a little under
You're
the
like,
radar.
I don't want to say the word that politely says the rude thing I'm about to say. I don't want to say shovelware. I want to say a bunch of trash, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, I bought a lot of trash, including stuff on the Wii. But then you got stuff that was a little under the radar too. Like you got, you know, Trauma Center on that
Oh yeah.
system. And then you continue to get cool stuff like Trauma Center over time, but even Elebits too. Elebits is like a cool little Wii game too. So, yeah, it's a combination of cheap, whole family, the launch lineup, almost the most games you could launch with at launch.
Yeah.
Um, I love the Wii a lot of fun memories of it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's something about, like I said, when we're talking about like such a, you're not going to get really much of a better gimmick than this. Even games that typically would otherwise be mid kind of got enhanced because everybody was just excited to try out the motion controls in unique ways.
Hmm.
So, I mean, you can't really say much more than that. I think that we kind of has to have a spot on there.
Yep. So there you go.
So
So we got
that's
360 and Wii; those are locked.
locked.
I think we're getting
Now,
in a position that's a little more fun.
yeah, yeah. So Jacob, what do you have for us?
Oh man. This is tough. 1 and 2 easy. The next ones I think are going to be harder.
Yeah,
Um so do you have one that comes to mind, cuz I could start by throwing one out.
I have one that comes to mind, but mine I feel like might not be that fun. We'll see.
Oh,
It might ruffle some feathers. Your feathers.
why don't you go first then?
All right. So I'm trying to. I might say the PlayStation 5. I might say the
Interesting.
PlayStation 5. And
Okay.
I say that because the PlayStation 5, specifically for the launch lineup, pretty fire. Okay. Like, and I know there's the whole thing about like, oh, crossplay titles, X, Y, and Z, blah, blah. But I think kicking the console off with Miles Morales, with Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, with Returnal, which
Yep.
everybody who saw Returnal at the PlayStation State of Plays was like, we don't really know what this is. Like literally up until like the week before launch, I remember
Mhm.
seeing gameplay and just being like, what is this game? And it just absolutely crushes. Like that first year on the PlayStation 5 was like, wait a second, what the, like they're just hitting.
Mhm.
Um, even with, because the PlayStation 5 released in 2020. Last of
Yes,
Us Part 2 had
November of
already come out though.
2020.
Last of Us Part 2 had already come out, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm not going to include that in my argument.
Mhm.
But like just those, I feel like just those three titles alone, plus Astro's Playroom as a pack in,
Yep.
plus
You had
about as
third
given
party stuff like Deathloop,
third
Ghostwire
party.
Tokyo, Grand Theft Auto
Ghostwire Tokyo.
5 came early, Hitman 3 came early.
Wait, what?
Um,
Grand
it
Theft
look
Auto 5?
we got like it sounded like there's like a port that like a PS5 port that
Oh,
came in early 21.
oh, I see.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. I'll give you that. Uh, one other thing is just the DualSense. I think is like an incredible hardware upgrade that I think makes, when it's used by PlayStation first party at least, it makes a pretty noticeable difference. Like
Mhm.
playing Astrobot with the DualSense, playing Death Stranding even with the DualSense feels like it enhances the game. Even Returnal, back when I think Returnal was one of the first games where people were like, oh, I can feel the raindrops. This is kind of crazy. Um, that hardware as well, and having Astro's Playroom to kind of show you the potential of it early
Mhm.
on, very excited about that. So I know it's not the most exciting. It's literally as recency bias as you can almost get,
Mm-hmm.
but I still like looking back on it, just feel like it's hard not to be impressed with like the clip at which they were hitting in that first year, and then like all the steam kind of went away after that. We started crawling, but
Yeah. I don't want to be accused of being an ex-boy or a Nintendo fanboy. So my mind was thinking, okay, cool. What PlayStation console are we going to put on this list?
yeah,
My mind went to PS4 first, and then I looked at the list and said, like, I mean, that's kind of a weak
took
list.
some, yeah,
And that one did come out before the Xbox, correct? Like, did PS4 come out first?
yeah.
But maybe just a
I
month
mean, it was like a
versus.
yeah, it was like a pretty tight window.
But I do remember getting a PS4 early. But you know where my mind was actually going to go? In the PlayStation realm. And I am not a PlayStation boy, but I was actually going to go PSP.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Now we're getting pretty fun here. Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
It was PlayStation's first foray into handheld gaming. It was going to be the first handheld that had a disc format versus like cartridges, which is what Nintendo had done for the
Yeah.
longest time. You got like sort of into the, I don't know if you want to call it a 64-bit console or what, but just a lot of 3D titles that were cool. You ended up getting like PSP versions of popular games. Think Tony Hawk Underground 2. You ended up getting like an NBA game. You got Gretzky Hockey. But then there was a couple of bangers around launch. Luminous, Metal Gear Acid, Ridge Racer, and I think there was a Spider-Man game on there too, Twisted Metal. It was a
Hmm.
pretty decent. There was an Ape Escape game that came out too, so a pretty decent like launch lineup for a pretty cool piece of hardware that I think got busted open for the modders real fast.
It
So you
did.
could just start pirating. Not that we endorse piracy. I cracked my PlayStation and only played games that I definitely owned. We do
Of
not endorse
course, as we all
piracy.
do.
Yeah,
As we all
but
do.
that was a cool little console.
I'm trying to think because I mean I had a PSP. I did not get one at launch, but I mean everything you're like the launch lineup I think was very substantial.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think about like just like the hardware itself like and did people get the PSP at the time? Like not get as in
Did
purchase,
they
but did
understand
people
it?
understand it? Because I do feel like there was, I mean, which ultimately ended up being its downfall, but like the whole UMD situation, and I think there was kind of a redheaded stepchild situation of like PlayStation launching the PSP,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not fully embracing the PSP. Like we're not going all out on making
Mm-hmm.
PlayStation branded stuff for the PSP. Uh, it did have its own support, but it always just felt like a other thing
Yep.
instead of like a premier PlayStation
Mm-hmm.
thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I only say that because when we're talking about when we're talking about the Mount Rushmore, I feel like there has to be some sort of fervor or some defining moment for this hardware coming out. Um, Even when I got the PSP, I remember loving it. One, I played WWE on the PSP, and I was like, "Whoa, what the?" I think that was I was about to say that got me into WWE. That's not true at all, but I did love it. I was like, "Dude, this is kind of sick." And then also just like doing weird stuff that you're not necessarily
Mm-hmm.
supposed to be doing on the PSP. Like I was just not playing games. I'm like, what if I just put all of Eminem's album on here and just listen to it on here?
Yeah.
Like it's just like
What if I
it's
just
like
browse the web in the worst ways possible when it hits?
yeah,
Because I
exactly.
don't think it was right
Exactly.
away, but on the version 2.0 of the firmware, you could browse web pages, and it was always a
Yeah.
terrible experience. But
It was
like,
terrible, yeah.
how many devices could you at that in 2004? Had the iPhone come out when the PSP came out? Probably, right?
Probably like iPod Touch was a thing for sure, I think around that time.
No, iPhone
But yeah.
launched in 2007. So again, I
Oh,
don't know when you got. Let me see when the PSP 2.0 firmware hit.
dang, that's very
Uh,
specific.
yeah, but I see what you mean. Maybe what we do now we'll put PSP to the side. We'll
We'll
put
put it up there.
PS5 to
We'll
the
put it up
side.
there.
You got another suggestion?
Uh, so I have a couple directions that I could go with this.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll just throw some out and let me see if anything catches your ear, right? Because on one hand, I'm thinking Nintendo DS because I think also kind of another gimmicky type situation where Nintendo once again, it felt like Nintendo once again struck gold, like this time on the handheld side where
Yep.
everybody couldn't get enough of that. Um, the other was the PlayStation 2. I think the PlayStation 2 was in a league of its own,
Mm-hmm.
and it had the luxury of just kind of being the only thing around. So it got a lot of inadvertent exclusives,
Mm-hmm.
I think, even at launch. So that's an interesting conversation. Um, and Nintendo 64 as well, I was considering.
But that only
Uh,
came out with like 2 games right at launch.
I was going to ask, like, what the proximity of some of the launch games were.
I think it took 6
Um,
months for them to put out games past because
mm,
Pilot Wings and Super Mario 64 came out right at launch,
right.
which you could look and say like Super Mario 64 was
I mean,
revolutionary, was
yeah,
the only game that you needed on that thing.
about as good
Um,
of yeah,
but I think it took 6 months for more games to come out.
yeah. Okay, okay.
What did
Uh,
you say before PlayStation 2? I'm writing them down.
before PlayStation 2, I said Nintendo DS.
Nintendo DS, yes.
Yeah.
I have 2 other suggestions I want to throw out there. I
Mm-hmm.
kind of have to do this as the Wii U Wonder Kid. It's in my name. The Wii U as a
No,
console had its issues.
no.
Did not sell great. But I think as a launch lineup, as a launch
Okay,
excitement for the system, it had
okay.
some. It had a lot of launch titles. I think it had something like, no joke, like 30 plus launch titles because we were bringing over stuff that
Jesus.
was on 360, PS3, and just like we got Darksiders 2, whatever edition, we got Armored Edition of Arkham, we got Black Ops 2, we got Assassin's Creed 3, blah blah blah, goes on and on.
Yeah.
But Nintendo Land was a cool game that you could buy to get with it.
Mm-hmm.
Some really cool, fun mini games that showed off the power of having this thing. So like, it is nowhere near Wii 360, but in the contention for that last spot on the Rushmore, I could see it. And this man is like,
Last.
you are high, sir.
Wait, we have two spots, don't we?
We have 2 spots left. Yes.
I mean, and yes, you are high, sir. Like that's if I allow the Wii U to get on this Mount Rushmore of console launches, I'm afraid somebody's going to bust my door down and arrest me on charges of foolishness. I mean, I think you do make a good point. Like the launch lineup is a big part, and like the Wii U, notoriously solid library of
Mm-hmm.
games,
Mm-hmm.
just in general.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I think my biggest hesitation for like holding the Wii U off is that nearly everybody that I know, first of all, very little excitement. I think
Mm-hmm.
just in general.
Yep.
I mean, obviously there's Nintendo fans
Confusion.
out there.
Mad
I think
confusion.
that's the biggest thing. Everybody was just kind of like, "What is this?" I remember even somebody who was watching E3
Mm-hmm.
every year at the
Mm-hmm.
time, did not understand if this was just something that I bought to go with my Wii
Yep.
or if this was a new console. I just didn't understand, and that's why the console launch, I just kind of stayed back out of
Mm-hmm.
it. I think that confusion is big, right? Like once again, I'm going back to like the fervor. You need to like make a statement with your launch. I think the Wii U from start to finish just never really made it
Fart
clear to the
noises, the
consumers
console.
what was going on. Yeah. So I don't know if the launch lineup is enough to save it. I think it's a solid argument. I'm not saying, and we have 2 slots. I'm not saying
Yeah.
I'll rule it out, but I'm hesitant for sure.
Okay. Then let me throw out the 2 others I had here, and then I think we have a
Yeah,
solid
what's
list
up?
of options to choose from. I need to say GameCube, only because we
All right,
got
GameCube.
Luigi's Mansion and Smash Melee at launch,
Yeah.
which are just, you basically got a Mario game and then a fighting game that people still play to this day.
Yeah.
I look, I have a lot of reverence for it because I remember my mom bringing it home, getting it for us for Christmas, and just my brother and I playing the ever loving shit out of it. And then getting the GameCube on Switch 2 is probably why it's top of mind at the moment. But my
Hmm.
real actual dark horse, and you're just not going to be able to help me here because you're a little baby, you're a little young
Yeah.
boy, is the Sega Dreamcast.
Okay.
The
Okay.
Sega
Hit
Dreamcast.
me with the argument.
Okay, the Dreamcast as my real dark horse came out a year before the PlayStation 2, so truly it was like the first console to do 128 gaming. It was the first game with real like online play built out of the box, and not only that, but the launch lineup itself, between getting all of the like Sega visual concepts sports titles. I think you ended up getting NFL 2K out of the box, and then you got more later. In addition to Soul Calibur, Sonic Adventure, Ready to Rumble Boxing, Power Stone.
Ooh.
I think that's kind of the lineup there, but just those Hydro Thunder, those games in
Ooh.
itself,
Ooh.
pretty solid.
Ooh. Yeah. That's kind of I
And
went
look,
crazy for Power Stone and Hydro Thunder.
yeah, the console itself, we know what happened with Sega, that was their last console, didn't sell particularly well, but I have a lot of game bullshit. You can see it if you're watching the video version on YouTube. I have a lot of game stuff. The one chase that one day I will just, if I get a little extra money at tax time, I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna buy a Dreamcast because I've never had one. Because I just want to have it, try it, play it for an afternoon, maybe a couple of days, and I think I'll have a lot of fun with it. And I think a lot of people have reverence for the Dreamcast.
You telling me the Dreamcast is not like a $80 purchase?
I think the console itself is over $100. And then you
Okay.
can burn the games, but
Okay.
that's
Okay.
not
Actually, yeah, that's
that's not
doable.
a whim purchase.
Yeah. No. I mean, if you add up all those damn Wii U games that you've been buying, maybe it could be. Maybe it could be, Jacob. I think that's a very. I mean, I like that. I like having the Sega Dreamcast. I mean, because you're right. Like it, obviously was the last console from Sega. Didn't sell particularly well, but out of all the consoles we can talk about not selling particularly well, X, Y, and Z, I think this one still has the most goodwill
Mm-hmm.
among like people who are around at the time. Like I
Mm-hmm.
remember going over to my cousin's place and he's showing me that he had a Dreamcast, and like all these launch lineup games that you're talking about, Power Stone, Hydro Thunder, there was such a nice little assortment there where it almost felt like there was something for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And there wasn't necessarily a gimmick per se, but even just like that weird little controller that had like the little
Yep. The
window
VMU
in
in the
it and
middle.
everything. Yeah, like all of that is pretty unique. And I think we didn't know at the time that that was going to be the last console. I think that was a
Yep.
pretty fun launch, all
Mm-hmm.
things considered. So I would definitely be down to put Sega Dreamcast on there.
Can I give you, so I think if we have to talk about some of the other consoles and go back, because I think if we have like the Dreamcast on there and then we don't have like the PlayStation 2, people might riot unless we have like a really strong argument. But I do want to go through the launch lineup, or at least the first year of games for N64, because you asked that question a little while ago. So in
Yeah,
the
let's
first
see.
year on the N64, we only got 8 games in North America,
Okay.
which is kind of wild. But let me hit you with those 8 games in the first year: Pilot
Okay.
Wings, Super Mario 64, Wave Race 64, MK
Ooh.
Trilogy, Wayne Gretzky 3D Hockey, Killer Instinct Gold, Cruisin'
Ooh.
USA, Star Wars Shadow of the Empire. We got Mario Kart February of the next year.
We can take this off the list. I don't. That's not. I
Whoa.
don't think that has enough staying power. I mean, me
Nintendo 64,
personally.
like Super Mario 64 though?
I mean, Super Mario 64 is carrying a lot of weight.
Yeah.
But if we're like, because you said this was how many months span is this?
So it launched in North America on September 29th of 96. So what
Yeah.
I basically ran you through, and you include Mario Kart, is the first 6 months of games.
Okay. For 6 months. I mean, it's good, but if we sneak Mario Kart in there, it's like okay.
Mhm.
But I feel like if you take out Mario Kart, we're not really getting a great image of like what the Nintendo 64 really was,
Mhm.
which is my argument there. Like I mean, there are a couple good bangers on there, but I'm not saying I think the Nintendo 64 for most people kind of kicked it. Obviously, Mario 64 was the one, and then kind of kicked in the high gear a little later on.
Mhm. Do you think the PS5 price thing is an issue when we talk about like launch? Because it did launch at $399 for the digital, $499 for the
Yeah,
disc. Is that
yeah.
expensive?
Um, no, because it was being scalped to hell.
Okay.
I mean, which the resource constraints. I'm not gonna hold. I mean, it depends. They definitely should have had more like hardware
Mm-hmm.
units,
Yep.
but it was literally COVID.
Yep.
So it's like I don't want to hold that against them, but it is also the reality of
Mm-hmm.
things. So that one's kind of tough for sure. But I mean, honestly, I would argue getting a PS5 felt even more special because it was COVID, because it was so hard to come by. Like having that PS5 drop at your doorstep or you picking it up at Best Buy like I did, it was like, whoa. I'm feeling a little bit of that like new console excitement that I haven't
Mm-hmm.
had in a while. Um, but yeah,
Can I throw out one more that we haven't talked about before we start whittling the list down?
I'm curious. I had one more too. I'm curious
Original
what you're about to say.
Xbox. There we
That's
are.
another good one.
Yeah.
That's another good one.
Halo Combat Evolved. Enough said.
Halo. I mean, Halo is kind of like the Mario 64 type situation where it's like, yeah, you're launching with a juggernaut for
Mm-hmm.
sure. Um, and then Fusion Frenzy, which people still talk about
Yep.
to this day.
Bill Gates' favorite game.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. The avid gamer Bill Gates. Um,
But you got PGR. You obviously get all the sports games. Dead or Alive
yeah,
3 came out on that thing too.
yep.
So there's some good stuff on there too.
There's
And
stuff
again,
on there.
modem built in. I'm sure Mech Assault came soon after with Xbox Live in the first
Yeah.
year. Microsoft's first game console as well.
Microsoft's first I mean, that one's a fun one. There's a lot of like little fun stories about that,
Mm-hmm.
about what it took to get that one off
Yep.
the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I don't know. Can it hang with what's our? I mean, because wait, what are our front runners right now?
So let me tell you
'Cause
what's locked in, and let me share
yeah,
all the consoles we've named so far. So locked in, we have the 360 and the Wii.
okay,
Locked in. And then because we both agreed first two choices unanimous, we're putting those in.
yeah,
Then we
mm-hmm.
named about 10 consoles after that. We said PS5, PSP, PS2. We did DS, Nintendo 64, Wii U, Xbox, Dreamcast, GameCube.
Okay.
Is there any there maybe we should cut the list down to stuff that you said we use a joke, right?
Yeah, we can't put we. There's
Okay.
no way.
Is there another cut on there that you think could easily go? PS5, PSP, PS2, DS, Nintendo 64, GameCube, Xbox, Dreamcast.
At this point, we could probably take off DS. I was also consider.
I don't know. Nintendo has launched how many handheld consoles, and we do not have a handheld on here. It's just when I think back of the Game Boy, it was basically Game Boy and Tetris, right?
Mm-hmm,
Game Boy Color, I
mm-hmm.
don't even know if that thing launched with a Pokemon game. Let's see what launched on the Game Boy Color. On the Game Boy Color at launch, we only got Centipede, Game & Watch Gallery 2, Pocket Bomberman, and Tetris DS, but I need to see what came out shortly thereafter. Games. Let's go through this list and talk through the games first released. We ended up getting
This is tough. This is tough because now I'm thinking we're talking about handhelds, and it's like, do I make this even more complicated for us? Do I say Nintendo Switch? Because are we including like Mario Odyssey and Breath of the Wild in the same like launch window with Mario Kart 8
Shoot.
Deluxe? I mean, because that's kind of insane. Are we going to include the ice cubes in the Joy-Con? Because that's kind of insane.
Yeah.
I don't know. This is tough, man. I feel like I have the weight of the world on my shoulders right now.
You know
Trying to make
what?
these decisions.
Four console launches is mad tough.
It is very tough.
And at launch, so you got 1-2 Switch, Breath of the Wild, Snipper Clips, and then we got the Joy-Cons, and then stuff in the launch window included Splatoon 2, Mario
Yeah.
Kart 8,
Yeah.
Arms, Shovel
Arms.
Knight.
Yep. I mean,
Damn, dude.
The only asterisk I would throw in there is like there's the Wii U of it all, where
Go on.
the Switch is kind of just looking over, being like, "Yeah, give me that, I'll take that." Nobody played you. I'll take that. They'll think it's new.
Here's what I'm going to do for us, because I think it might help if you can also visualize it. While we're speaking, I'm just going to draft a real quick list.
Okay.
GameCube and then Switch. And I'm going to share my screen here, and the video viewers will be able to see us cut away at this document as we go. But I thought it'd be
Okay.
better if we can visualize it here.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Which ones can go first?
You cut one.
PSP.
Yeah, take it off.
Okay.
Hold
You
on.
cut
I gotta
one.
look at the Nintendo DS launch lineup because we didn't really talk about the DS. Let me just confirm. Let me confirm because we had Super Mario 64 DS, which I played the hell out of. But I mean, okay. I mean, like the actual launch lineup of like Spider-Man 2, Metroid Prime Hunters, Madden, like none of these are like crazy. But when we talk about the launch window,
Oh, hold on. I have a deck about this because at PAX I did a presentation about the Nintendo DS, and so I have a deck ready with the launch
there you
titles.
go, everybody.
Look at this.
There you go.
Look at your boy being ready for this.
It's ready for everything.
Look at that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like this is not really doing much. I think this isn't doing anything for me, quite frankly.
Yeah.
I love Super Mario DS, but it's a remake.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And you got the Metroid, the Metroid Hunters, like the DS used the stylus as a first-person shooter, which was interesting, but
yep.
and it was novel and it was cheap, but maybe it doesn't hang with the rest of these.
Probably not.
Okay, we're gonna have. Are you okay with not having a single Nintendo handheld on this list? GBA, I don't think had a strong. Those are in my mind consoles that grew over time. So like GBA became wildly popular, got more titles over time. DS, same thing. 3DS stumbled big time out of the gate, where they had to drop the price by $70 because more stuff was coming. So I guess we don't have. I mean, 4 slots is hard. I guess we don't have a Nintendo handheld.
It's okay.
Damn.
That's all right. That's all right. I mean, Switch also doubles as a handheld, so there's potential.
There's potential.
Wait, I was going to say, I thought you just deleted that after I said that. You're like, nope, not under my watch.
Can I cut again?
Yeah,
664.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Your turn, my friend. We have 2 slots with 6 consoles. PS5, Switch, PS2, Xbox, Dreamcast, GameCube are left on our list here.
Let's get GameCube out of there.
Why? Defend yourself.
I I think GameCube, when we're looking at everything else on the list, the GameCube was cool, but I think it was missing a little bit of the novel factor. I think the GameCube, like in general, is kind of just seen as an underpowered competitor to the PS3 and the
PS2 and
360
Xbox.
and the PS2 and Xbox, right? Um, and you're right, Luigi's Mansion, great. Like it had some solid launch titles, but when we're talking about the Mount Rushmore, I don't think the GameCube, even just from a hardware standpoint, did enough to stand out. I think it was a little bit behind a little bit late
Okay.
out of the blocks.
Okay. It hurts me, but I will cut the GameCube. Okay. So that one's cut. Can I we didn't really talk about one in detail. We have the PS5 here, but why did we
Yeah,
decide no on the PS4? Because the PS4, they learned from the mistakes of the PS3 where they launched the console at a competitive price.
yeah,
And if I look at the list of games, there is not a killer app in this lineup,
yeah,
but I think it was
yeah.
a wildly solid system.
It was a very solid system. I think. I mean, we didn't talk about it, but I think the launch lineup in this generation period with both the Xbox One and the PS4 was kind of just
Meh.
all right. Yeah, I
Yep.
think the biggest hype about, I mean, the whole thing about the PS4 was like, we're going to focus on the games.
Hmm.
They're doing TV over there. We're focusing on the games. And then the
Yep.
launch lineup was kind of just like, all right. Like, I feel like the most formative PS4 games were not in this launch lineup.
Okay.
Whereas all the rest of the consoles do have one of their debut title or like, standout titles launching with them.
Okay. So we've kind of bifurcated things where we have PS5 and Switch, which was the last
Yeah.
gen or last gen this gen, and then we have the PS2, Xbox Dreamcast gen, which are all kind of around the same time, like 99 to 2001.
Yeah.
Does anything jump out at you as in the five we have left here needs to be moved up? Because there's one on here that I look at and go, I would move one console up out of these five right now.
Which one is it?
Switch. I think it was a combination of exciting hardware after a real like flop. They were
Yeah.
taking both their handheld business and their home console business and smashing it into one. I mean, now handhelds you can plug into the TV is not a novel thing, but at the time, wildly novel. And then you get Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, sure, remake, fine, but then you get a Zelda game and a Mario game basically out the gate.
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
Uh,
Mario Odyssey was
yeah.
out the gate.
It was in the range. It was in the range for sure. It was like one of the things it was close enough to where they were hyping us up about it coming, is what I'll say. I remember I got a Switch pretty late,
Mm-hmm.
but it was like less than a year later.
Yeah, it was 6 months
And
later.
I picked up Mario Odyssey and Zelda. I mean, I think you're right. I think when we're talking about launch consoles, I think in the simplest terms, when you think about it, is this a console that you bring home and everybody in the home wants to like gather around and see what's going up with this, like what's going on? Switch, absolutely that console where it was another game changer.
Mm-hmm.
Like people wanted to see Breath of the Wild was blowing people away. Mario Odyssey as well, Mario Kart 8. Like it just had so many titles that were the like the ultimate forms
Mm-hmm.
of these games, and like to this day some of the best versions of these games that we've gotten. Not to mention the gimmick. I think that was, I mean, it's not like it was that long ago, but probably the best gimmick that we've gotten and that we might get going into the future. I don't know if we're going to get better than the detachable Joy-Cons moving forward.
Yep. Yeah, and Mario Kart didn't come at launch because I have, for the video viewer here,
Yeah.
we have just an infographic that has some of these launch titles. It looks weak Puyo Puyo Tetris, Super Bomberman R, 1-2 Switch, Zelda, and then you got some digital titles. But within that first 6 months, you end up getting Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and then a Mario Odyssey game, which could go up and say is one of the best games of all time.
Yeah, I mean, and kind of adding to the like the Wii argument, right? Like when you have that gimmick of the Joy Cons, it makes games like Arms and it makes games like Snipper Clips a lot more fun than they might have been otherwise,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I think even those games had a specific charm to them. Um, so there you go.
There you go,
That's
locked
up there.
in. Switch is up there. Now we have to make a decision of the last four for the last spot.
This is tough. This is
PS5,
tough.
PS2, Xbox, Dreamcast.
This is tough. Hold on. How are you finding like the launch window for games?
Just Googling launch window games
Okay.
or launch window PS5.
Because I'm really, man, I don't know. I'm looking at this and I'm like, can we really? I like the PS5 seems like it needs to go on there. Like, I forgot about Demon Souls.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know outside of I mean, Nintendo is kind of a different breed with this, but in terms of like showcasing some hardware, and in this case, we're not showcasing gimmicks, we're just
Mm-hmm.
showcasing fidelity. Miles Morales, Demon Souls, Astro's Playroom, Returnal,
Sackboy.
all Sackboy, which I didn't play, but I know there is. Seems like people enjoyed it. Like outside of fucking Destruction All Stars, they were
Mm-hmm.
batting like perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Let
and
me
I know
try
it's like
something
not
here.
exciting though.
It's not where like I'm gonna put this up here and see how it feels. I would be okay with PlayStation 5, but I want to see if you want to make that fourth spot more of a wild card, more of a fun wild card.
Which is something that's casting dreams, maybe.
Maybe, or something that has evolved combat. You never know.
Mm.
Can I say here
So
what I do want to
yeah,
cut? I think we cut PlayStation 2 at this point.
yeah, get it off, get it
Okay,
off.
cool, sick.
My thing about the Xbox, the OG Xbox, is that I
The
feel like
Duke was
Xbox
bad.
360, the Duke was bad, and I feel like the Xbox 360 just did it better
Mm-hmm.
in a way that I don't feel like they both need to be on there.
Okay.
Like, I think the Xbox launch was exciting. It was new. It was fun. There was a lot of doubters.
Mm-hmm.
New player coming into the console field, and they did have Halo, but I think it was more of a Halo launch than a. I think Halo carried kind of like the N64, where Halo carried out that console early on.
Yeah, I could be fine with cutting the Xbox. You know what? You saying we already have the 360 on here, and it is a comparably stronger launch, both from a console excitement and games perspective, minus maybe Halo. You take
Yeah.
Halo out of it, and it's easy. It's not even a question.
Right, right.
I could live with that.
Cool, cool.
I don't think we're PS5 versus Dreamcast just isn't a. I don't think we can play here. You just
I
going through the
mean,
first party lineup on
yeah,
PS5, which
yeah.
again was Astro's Playroom, Demon Souls, remastered Spider-Man, Miles Morales, and Sackboy. Like that's a killer first
It
party lineup.
it might be one of the greatest launch lineups. Period. Like it might be because I mean we're looking at our Mount Rushmore,
Yeah,
and even then I'm like 360 had good titles, but I mean Cameo is not touching Miles Morales. Let's be real.
fair.
We I think is very solid, but I think a lot of that is because the gimmick is there. Switch stole some stuff from the Wii U. Let's be real. And PS5, like exclusive games, very polished experiences, so many different genres. Even a wild card in Returnal, which is now a staple
Yeah,
franchise, like that. You don't get 4 hits within like the first 6 months ever, which
Fair.
is why I'm like, it's kind of hard to, but it's also like the most boring possible answer
Yes.
we could put on
Yes.
here.
Totally.
But
Which I
I
almost wanted
think,
a less boring answer for the last spot, but I can look at each of these and go, why did we put it on the list?
yeah,
PS5 boring hardware, but we got the 60 FPS modes and a lot of stuff, and the first
hmm,
party lineup plus like what I'd consider a second party. I don't know what Returnal Housemark was at that time, but like
yeah,
the
yeah,
launch lineup was so killer. Switch was excitement, Nintendo's last stand, if you will. The novelty of the console. Plus, we got 3 killer apps in the first 6 months. The Wii was so novel. Like take the Switch up another level, and just some of the experiences that you had to have, like wailing around a Wiimote for the first time, rad.
yeah,
And then the 360, just in that era, coming out a whole year before the PlayStation 3 and the Wii, giving us high definition gaming, giving us, some cool like PC games like Call of Duty, and then we also got some neat first party stuff. But it was really like taking a step forward that felt exciting.
yeah,
I can live with this list.
yeah. I think this is very, very solid.
Mm-hmm.
And like full disclosure, I think sometime a little bit after the PS6 comes out, we'll probably still look at the PS5 and be like, what? How did they do this during
Mm-hmm.
COVID? How did they pull
Mm-hmm.
this off
Yep.
with this like lineup? I think it's boring now, but I think it's going to be exciting in
Mm-hmm.
a decade.
Yep.
So I think this is a very, very solid list. Even just looking at it, it just looks nice.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I would imagine these are probably 3 of the best selling consoles of all time, with the PS5
Yeah.
being on track to be a top, like, these are all for sure top 7 or 8 consoles of all time, sales
Yep.
wise.
Yep. With the
PS2 is
Super.
up there. What else kind of touches these consoles? That
That's a good
Peach's
point. And
PS2?
no, no, no. Uh,
What just touches
one.
them from a sales perspective, taking out
Oh,
PS5?
oh, yeah, yeah.
Sales. I'm
PS2
not
for
I'm
sure.
not
Yeah.
dark horsing in PS2.
I have one dark horse for you that
Okay.
we didn't think about. What if I told you about the Soldier console? Where does that rank on here? Where does the Soldier Boy console
Right
rank?
down with the Ouya.
So pretty high on my list.
Yeah.
Ouya, number 1, Soldier 2, or switch them?
Is there a certain president now that wants to put himself on Mount Rushmore? Or wants to add McKinley to Mount Rushmore or some shit? I don't know. I'm Canadian. I don't
A
understand.
certain president. Who
Yeah.
could you be talking about?
Yeah. No, we're not. We're not
I
going
hope
there.
not. I hope not. Wait, Ouya was the was that like a was that like a legit thing? Was that like a legit console?
Yeah, that was
Or was
when
that kind of like
Kickstarter
a
was at the height of stuff, and I think it was like kind of the first Android
oh
micro console. It would have been like the first NVIDIA system on a chip, Android based console, and it was $99 at launch. And sure,
nice?
did it have many games? No, but you could play Towerfall on that bitch.
Okay. Ouya. Because I'm thinking of like, was there another like failed console called like the Livewire or the
There was a couple of online only consoles. One of them called the
mm,
Phantom. Oh, there was also one. Livewire
Phantom?
was a service.
I don't know. That name is just sticking out of my head for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what that was. Oh wait, it's a video game publisher? No, no, I don't know.
No, there was a couple of
thinking
On
of the
Live.
Ouya.
You're thinking of On
On
Live.
live, on live. There we go.
Yeah.
There
Yeah,
we
yeah.
got there. We got
Yeah.
there.
Oh.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Nice pull.
Yeah. Hey, this isn't me. This isn't the time to bring this up, but I'm definitely looking at Ouyas on eBay right now.
No, no,
Don't let me do it. I can't
no.
do it.
Please don't. Just buy your Dreamcast instead, please.
Okay, I'll buy an Ouya and a Dreamcast. Got it.
No, no, no.
Take us
I'm
home
looking
before
at
I
the
buy
on
an.
live controller. There's like a play button on the damn controller. There's like a fucking there's MP3 controls on the control. What is going on there? All right, everybody. This was fun. This is what happens when Luke is away. The boys will play. We have our Mount Rushmore of console launches. So, Jacob, take us home. Read us off what our final verdict was.
The Mount Rushmore of gaming console launches: the Xbox 360, the Nintendo Wii, the Nintendo Switch, and the Sony PlayStation 5.
And if you ask me, that is a gas list of consoles. I think about every single one of those consoles very fondly, and I think I will for years to come. I'll be telling my kids about the Xbox 360 console and how I first saw a game in HD on an HD TV. And hopefully you all will be telling your future kids or partners or whoever about this 10 years in the future. But until then, we hope that you listen to the Crossplay Conversations podcast each week, where myself, my co-host Jacob here, and eventually in the future, Luke Lewis will return to the mic, and we'll be discussing all manners of things. I'm not going to spoil anything, but I'll give you a little hint. The next episode might be about the best apocalyptic games of all time. Not true. I just made that up.
Yeah, you made that up. I'm like, that's not on the schedule, my friend.
Clip out Jacob's face. I was like, what out of pocket thing can I say? And there were a couple like real time decisions I made where I was like, let me be careful here, because Luke would not appreciate if I said a couple of these things.
Joseph, do you actually want to know what the next episode's going to be about?
I do, actually. Please tell me.
Okay, so if folks want to prepare for the first time ever, I think, on Crossplay Conversations, we're doing a little game club on the show. So we're having friend of the show, Topher from the Playlog podcast, Play Nice Kids on the short form video platforms, in anticipation of baby steps. We are going to play another Bennett Foddy game, Ape Out. So in 2 weeks from now, if you want to play along with us at home, you should grab Ape Out. It's relatively cheap. It's a 2-hour game. Come along and play it with us, and we're going to be talking about it on the show. So that's Ape Out is going to be our next episode. And Hoop, and I don't think you're going to be on that episode. It's going to be a me and Topher show.
Yep, I'm going to be gone. As a little outro, what do you think your thoughts are going to be? You think you're going to like it? You think you're going to be lukewarm on it? No pun intended.
TM. I think I'm going to enjoy it.
Okay.
It's a simple little game with some cool music and some cool mechanics. That is my take. That I will probably like it.
And it's short, which is always fantastic.
We love a short game. Short king, short games all day.
Short king, short games. With that, I will sign us out here. We are setting our status to away until next time. But until then, you can do 4 things for us. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel to get the video version of the show. You can follow us on BlueSky. You can send this podcast to a friend, because that's how people hear about podcasts. And you can give us a review on your podcasting platform of choice, because it really helps us. And with that, everybody, go enjoy your weekend, your work day, your drive home, your gym session, whatever, wherever you decide to listen to us, go enjoy that.
Bye.
And go touch grass as well. Bye.
Go touch grass. Bye.